Okay, in the last Ed puzzle, we left off in slide 17, and I meant to lecture on this last slide here, how to become a certified athletic trainer. And so you must do these four things: graduate from an accredited program, successfully pass the certification exam put on by the NATA BOC, obtain licensure within your state to practice. And each state has different licensure regulations. So one state you might be able to do certain practices while in the others you can't. So licensure is important. It tells you what you can and can't do within your state. And then you have to you have to take clinicals. That's part of the graduation requirements. So some of you who are athletes at St. Stephen's will see we have George Mason students who come in and they do clinical rotations or internships with us where they're kind of learning on the job, if you will. Some might refer to that as on the job training or OJT. So then moving forward, we're going to go on to slide 19 here. To review and practice your homework, Introduction to Sports Medicine quiz. Once you've gotten a perfect score on this quiz, screenshot it and submit it in the classroom page, which is what I did on the, I put the same information in your Blackboard homework assignment. Moving on, slide 20, Athletic Training and State Practice Acts. So what I want you to do is read this article. And in the Ed puzzle, I will pause here and put a bunch of questions. I'm not going to read the article for you. There's a link here. You can do one of two things. Google search this article, and the title is Practicing Responsibility, Understanding Athletic Training Regulation and State Practice Acts. You're going to read that article, and then I will have some questions for you in relation to the difference between certification, registration, and licensure. So explain why it's important to read and understand the bylaws of the state in which you practice your profession. So we will pause. You'll have time to read that in class. It should take you about 10 to 15 minutes to read the article and answer the questions. I recommend you split screen. So you have the questions in the Ed puzzle and the article on the other side so that you can answer as you go. Roles of injury prevention. Roles of roles of an athletic trainer. So these are everything that this course is going to be outlined by. So everything you're going to learn in this course hinders around or is, it is geared towards or taught around these 6 domains that an athletic trainer does. So this really, in a nutshell, is what we do in our role as sports medicine professionals. Very different from what other professionals do, like an orthopedic surgeon. We don't do surgeries and we don't prescribe medication and those sorts of things. But a lot of what we do is similar to what an orthopedic doctor might do in the clinical setting, other than we don't order MRIs, x-rays, and that kind of thing, or do surgery. So there's obviously a bunch of differences. And we're also not medical doctors, but we are healthcare providers. So with that said, the following are the 6 domains of what an athletic trainer does. You will need to be able to explain each of these. So I have attached, you will see later in the next slide or two, an article from Jennifer Zuba, I think is how you pronounce her name. Anyhow, she explains in detail how we do each one of these roles as an athletic trainer. So injury prevention, it's not as simple as putting, keeping water off of the floor. So in other words, when a basketball player slides on the gym floor and it's wet, it's not as simple as just having towels there and providing cleanup or a dry court so ankles aren't sprained and fractures don't occur from someone slipping and falling. So that is the simple form of it, but injury prevention gets a lot more detailed than that. And we could talk about throwing mechanics in baseball and how poor throwing mechanics or pitching mechanics might lead to injury. So, and then addressing those movement mechanic issues. So that's a great example of how we're a little more detailed in preventing injury. So it runs the gamut for making sure the facilities are maintained and that kind of stuff. But moving on, recognition, evaluation, and assessment of injuries. Recognition, while it sounds simple and concept, it's not always the easiest. One of the things I recall as an athlete, I almost didn't recognize an injury, and had I hurried myself through the evaluation process, I very easily could have missed a fracture. The kid was not in pain, but he should have been. But endorphins were flying, and he had a pretty severe injury, a complete tib-fib fracture in his lower leg, and when I didn't remove his shin guard. This was soccer, his shin guard right away. And everything looked in alignment. There wasn't no abnormality there. Um, and so all of my fracture tests were negative at first, which was crazy. The kid had to have no pain at all, which is unbelievable. I mean, I think the lack of pain was because his endorphins were going quite high. And he was arguing that he was fine and wanted to get up, which is ironic. And I said, something's just not right about this situation. Let me look further. I pulled his sock off and he had a huge bump or hematoma, which is what I thought, underneath his shin guard. So I'm thinking, oh, this is probably just a hematoma. And then what I did is, finishing my evaluation, I kind of palpated along the shaft of his shin bone there, and you could feel the jagged edges of the bone poking through the skin. Wild scenario, right? The kid had a clear fracture in his leg, like a clear break, but his limb wasn't twisted in the other angle, and he was arguing that he's fine and he wanted to get up and he was acting tough. In reality, he had a fracture. Had I let him get up in that scenario, he could have finished that break and occluded an artery. All kinds of bad things could have happened. So while it sounds silly, you don't always recognize that an injury exists. So being able to recognize injuries is important. Some of them are easy and obvious, and some of them not so much. Then the next is being able to evaluate and assess injuries. And I would say evaluation and assessment go hand in hand. You evaluate to determine what the problem is, which is your assessment. So you do evaluation techniques, and evaluation techniques can run the gamut. There's specialized tests that we do to determine what body part might be injured. It's much like doing a diagnostic for an auto repair mechanic. In the old days, we had to listen to the engine and how it ran. Nowadays, they have electronic gadgets that you can plug in under your dashboard that'll give you diagnostics, which is a lot easier for a mechanic. It solves the problem. You get the diagnostic, mechanic says, this is your problem. You go and buy the part versus trying to figure it out on your own. The body's not that easy. It'd be nice if we could plug in a diagnostic to your brain and the brain comes out and says, this is what's wrong. But that's not always the case. So evaluation requires talking to the patient and doing some special tests like x-rays, MRIs, and hands-on clinical testing. And then there's emergency care of athletic injuries. I'm not going to talk about the rest of them because you're going to read this article from Jenna Zuba. So emergency care of athletic injuries, treatment and rehabilitation and reconditioning of athletic injuries, organization and administration. In other words, what happens if you've ever been in the training room behind the glass windows in our office? What are we doing back there? There's a lot going on that you don't know about if you've ever been in the training room. And then professional development and responsibility. So acting professional is one thing, being responsible and ethical is another, and then continuing education would be part of your professional development. And again, you're going to read in detail on this article coming up. So I think this is it here. Okay, so you're going to break up into groups of 2 to 3. And I would say no more than 4. And write down, this is what I want you to do. Write down a list of qualities that you think an athletic trainer must have in order to be an effective healthcare professional. We're not going to do this. We're just going to do the Jennifer Zuba article because we're half in class, half out. So then I was going to have you think of a role domain of each role or domain of the athletic trainer up here, and then write down, think of each job role domain of the job and answer in writing how you think these job duties are met. Well, Jennifer Zuba is going to tell you here later, so we're not going to do that. And this should be, here it is. And I think this slide should be here. So then we'll do this. Yep, this slide here. So what important unwritten rule is not listed up here before we get to the Jennifer Zuba article? So up here, excuse me, in slide 21. So out of all these 6 domains that the NATA basically has set in place, what our job roles are as an athletic trainer, what important unwritten rule is not listed? And I want you to, here's your hint, think about the rehabilitation of a debilitating injury. So if you're that athlete that sustained a labral tear or an ACL tear, what goes on in your mind and what happens to those athletes? And so what is our role as athletic trainers to support them? That's what I'm looking for. All right, so in the video, we will pause here and you will read this article from Jennifer Zuba. Excuse me, it's not really an article, it's a master's thesis, role delineation, basically what athletic trainers do. So you're going to read this article, in groups. So what I suggest you do is one person tackle each one of these domains. So one person do injury prevention, another person do injury evaluation and assessment, and there are 6 domains. So I don't think we can get even groups of 6. I have to look at the class. Actually, I think there might be, well, in one of my classes, there's 12. We might do that instead of groups of 3 to 4. We'll do groups of 6. So each person has a responsibility to review each one of these and then type it up, present it in class, put a common document together for each of you and review. And we're going to discuss it in class. All right. So that was the Jennifer Zuba. Okay, next, roles of an ATC. What are the jobs of an ATC? The 6 roles used to guide this semester course and plan, which we've already discussed, those 6 roles. So an introduction to the basic knowledge of each domain will be covered. And examples within each one of these domains would be, you need to, basic understanding, you need to know these things in order to be able to perform those 6 roles. So you need to know basic anatomy. You need to understand who Charles Darwin is and his theory of adaptation. It goes well with what we do as healthcare professionals, especially physical therapists and athletic trainers. You need to have some understanding of medical ethics. So we'll talk about that, and we do that quite a bit. You need to know how to do examination and assessment techniques. You need to understand medical terminology. You need to know what the SAID principle is, and we'll talk about that. The SAID principle stands for specific adaptations to imposed demands. We'll talk about concussions. You need to know what modalities are. So modalities would be any tool in our bag of tricks to treat injury. So ice, massage, cupping, you name it, which we've already mentioned in the previous slide, I believe, or in the previous lecture. You need to know positional terms on the body. So terms like north, east, south, and west on the map. We're going to do positional terms on the body like superior, inferior, medial, lateral, dorsal, ventral, distal, proximal. These are all new terms. You don't know them all. Some of them you may know. We're going to learn them. And then the FIT principle. What does the FIT principle stand for? And that is spelled wrong. See if we can correct that now. There we go. Principle. Emergency situations, preparedness, and emergency action plans, wound care, mechanisms of injury, tissue healing times. Tissue healing times are really important. What's the first question every coach, athlete, and sports fan wants to know after someone is injured? And that should give you an idea why tissue healing time is important. Administration, what do we need to do administratively behind a glass window in our office? And then obviously you need to be CPR certified and first aid certified, which is part of this course. Okay, where do you see athletic trainers? What are the work settings, places you'll see them? High schools, universities, colleges, professional and semi-professional sports teams, youth sports, sports medicine centers, and industries. Think of like UPS, GMC, so automobile manufacturing plants. Believe it or not, there's a really cool one where a lady started in the, I believe, late 80s. She started doing athletic training work with the NASA Center in Cape Kennedy, Florida. Military, this is a relatively, I say relatively, I'm getting older, a relatively newer career field for athletic trainers. And it makes sense that military are very much like our military fighters, war fighters are very much like athletes. And so they need a lot of attention, and they also sustain a lot of injuries. More importantly, the reason why we work in the military now is to prevent injuries. And believe it or not, most injuries happen in training. Obviously, it makes sense. Hopefully there's not game day for our fighters, but unfortunately, sometimes there are. But most injuries happen in training for war. So athletic trainers and the military work well together. Dance companies, so and performing arts. Think Cirque du Soleil as well, or river dance, or any other kind of performing arts. And then the police forces, which some of you may or may not remember Katie Grover. She was our athletic trainer before Allison Nagel. So gosh, about 5 years ago now. She is now working with Fairfax County Police Department and was just named Virginia Athletic Trainer of the Year for her work with the police forces here in Fairfax County. A really cool job that she has. Okay. Where do you see athletic trainers? So we're going to do in-class discussion, athletic training workplace scenarios. Read the following article and answer these questions. So the article is on a gentleman, athletic trainer named Gene Monahan. So we will pause the video here. So you're going to look up this article. Again, you can either go to the actual presentation or click on the link, or just Google search a Yankees lifer in NASCAR land. You're going to read that article, and then I will have a list of questions for you. Probably not all of these questions here. That's pretty extensive. And the purpose of this article is just to introduce you to other workplace settings. So this is kind of a cool, neat job that Gene Monahan has. All right, and then for some reason, the last video, or the last time I put together a video, I think it was an ESPN video, and so they would not allow me to play this in the class. So I'm not even going to click on this link. I'm going to see if I can make it a separate video that would click on after this Edpuzzle is done. So the title here is Athletic Trainers Save Lives, and this is a pretty cool story. So we'll make that a link, a separate Edpuzzle link, and hopefully that works for us that way. Athletic trainers save lives, but are human beings too. And this might also be, this is definitely an ESPN, which Disney owns, and that might be why I was not able to connect or load. That might be the issue that people were having when loading this video. So we'll skip that. Here is an article about athletic trainers making poor ethical decisions, and we'll talk about that. So you're going to read this article. Future of 2 University of Maryland athletic trainers remain uncertain after Durkin's departure. So you can Google search this article. It is with the Baltimore Sun. So make sure you're on the Baltimore Sun website, and this article should pop up for you. Okay. Read the article and summarize what went wrong. I will have questions for you in the Edpuzzle for this article as well. So again, split screen and answer the questions in the Edpuzzle. And then finally, we will do a history of athletic training project, but I think that's going to be later for another day. So we will end the lecture there. Most likely, let me see what else we got here. We did this, we did that. I thought there was another video here, but maybe not. Okay, so the last thing we will do is the history of athletic training and watch these videos separately. So that should end the video here.